Hi, my name is Nicole Bauman, and this is my screencast for Module 1. I am currently a kindergarten teacher at Ephrata Area School District, and I have just finished my 4th year of teaching. I live in Ephrata with my boyfriend and our Australian Shepherd Luna. We are currently house hunting and going through that crazy journey. When I am not in the classroom, I am usually outside hiking, traveling, or at the beach. Fun fact about me, I have been to 32 states and 4 countries, and I plan on adding to that in the upcoming year. So I minored in integrative STEM for my undergraduate, and that's when I was introduced to the STEM concept. I really wanted to learn more about implementation into schools, specifically to primary grades, so I chose to continue my learning in that area. I also wanted to provide my students with experiences that I didn't have during my own schooling time, and I also want to help today's society prepare for future advancements. So although I would like to take a definition from our text and use that because I believe it hits all important factors, mine is much simpler. So as you can see in the graphic that I added, I see STEM as the four main components: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But I see it as a blended learning and preferred in an integrated format. So being a kindergarten teacher, we are very limited on time, and being limited on time, I found that the easiest way to incorporate STEM into my classroom is aligning it with my ELA curriculum. So whenever I can tie in a design challenge into a story, I try to. This year is an example my students did this year called Sticky Structures. We read a text and then talked about sturdy structures, different shapes, how we could create structures that are strong versus what would make a weak structure. And then they were presented with a problem. They had to create a structure that would be sturdy enough to hold our character in our story, Q-Bear. Through this practice, they were asking questions, developing and using models. They planned and carried out investigations with their groups, came up with solutions, and they made use of structures. So why is STEM education important? But I believe this is a loaded question, and I'm going to refer to a book that was used in a previous course that I've taken this year by the authors Donovan and Bradsford. And I believe they put it best when they gave the idea of observation, imagination, and reasoning. So in the classroom, we usually see students first learning concepts and then practicing or applying them into a step-by-step experiment or science exploration. And although I believe this has benefits and it allows students to practice their knowledge, I like the idea of having students learn the concepts through the experiment. So starting with observation, putting their own prior knowledge into play, using their imagination and exploration to help guide their learning, and then coming to a reasonable conclusion or furthering their own discovery by being left with an open-ended question. Another thing that I believe STEM education promotes is self-monitoring. And I believe as teachers it is important for us to help students become monitors of their own learning. There was a quote from the previous book that I mentioned about how we are the owners and operators of our own brain, but it came without an instructional book, so we need to learn how to learn. Helping our students take ownership over their learning will excite and motivate them to want to be successful and encourage them to make their own self-discovery, which is important in today's time and age. In the video that we were supposed to watch for this module, one of the people being interviewed, I'm hopefully saying his name correctly, Neil deGrasse Tyson, was talking about how people say, oh, when will I use this in real life? I'm learning these things in math. When am I ever going to use this math again? And he made the comment that the act of having learned the math established a wiring in your brain that didn't exist before. And it's the wiring in your brain that makes you the problem solver. And that wiring is now going to take you on to use these real world tools later in life. So it's not specifically the concepts we're being taught, but the wiring that is happening to your brain through learning those concepts. And I thought that was really important. So lastly, what are my goals for this course? I'm hoping that I can find different ways to expose them to primary grades. As I mentioned, kindergarten is very short on time, so any different resources that I can use with my younger age kiddos would be great. How to really integrate STEM as a whole. I feel like I use a lot of engineering and mathematics, but I haven't really figured out how to apply technology in yet. So I'm hoping to do that.